Alright, let's see. That's silent, that's silent, that's silent, that's not silent. That, in fact, is the microphone, and it's on. I've got the chat up over there, but I need to make it bigger. Okay, now I can read it. Alright, and everything seems to be working, so let's go ahead and get this started. There we go, and it's gone. Hello, Shadowcat back, and we are leaving the Mechanicus behind. We are gonna get back to work on the Warhammer 40k module, and we are starting with the Tau today. Why? Because nobody gave me a better option, and so I figured Tau, why not? They have fun toys. Fully expect this is going to be a little bit rough because I am not nearly as familiar with the Tau as I am with the Mechanicus. I know a little bit about them. From a lore perspective, I know almost nothing about them from a mechanical perspective, so a lot of this is going to be... I'm going to have to work out a lot of this stuff as we go. But I look at the chat. We got Tux, we got JP, we got Blizz. Hello, all three of you. I expect to get a Malachi at some point, too. I mean, fingers crossed. And Tux said, Shadowcat has 469 subscribers. I expect 469 likes on this video before it starts. Also, giggity. I have never even gotten 10 likes in a video. Well, not a stream anyway. I do have a couple of videos that have gotten over 10 likes. But, yeah, I don't have a whole lot of hope on that one. The funny thing about that actually is when my channel hits 69 subscribers, you can actually go back and probably find it. It's one of the shorts I've done. I gotta get back to doing shorts. I haven't done a newsletter in a while. Yeah, I should probably go back and catch up on all those. Anyway, though, when I got to 69 subscribers, I actually did a little short that just said nice. And it actually got downvotes. People downvoted it. You just can't make anybody happy sometimes. I don't care. It made me happy. Anyway, though, so for today, we are going to need our browser somewhere in here. There it is. And we will need a spreadsheet for this. So that's done. We're starting off with a brand new clean sheet today. We still have all of our other stuff, though. I mean, here's the Astartes. Okay, we got them. We got the Mechanicus. We've got all of our guns, but now, clean sheet. I'm just going to go ahead and put Tau Empire here. And today is mostly just going to be figuring out what it is we need to do. Because, obviously, we're going to need some races. And if my understanding of Tau is correct, we need a minimum of 5 races. Because if I remember correctly, there are 5 kind of sub-races of Tau. There's Earth, Air, Fire, Water, and then Ethereal. If I'm remembering right. So we'll need to have like 5 of those. And see, there's Malachi. Hello, Malachi. I knew you were coming. So we'll need to do 5 of those. If we want Kroot, we'll have to do another race for Kroot. And there's probably other races in the Tau Empire that I don't know about. I only know about Kroot because they're kind of like the shock troopers. Since Tau don't generally like to get up close and personal, that's what they have Kroot for. But there might be others. So we'll have to find out. After that, we'll have to work on probably a lot of their technology, because they have different guns, but I think their guns are pretty standard. I think they're just like laser guns or plasma guns, stuff like that. We'll learn about it. The big thing about Tau that we're not doing right now, although I don't know, maybe we'll spend the time to do it while we're in the Tau. Tau use a lot of vehicles. So, like, when you're playing the Astartes, particularly in the tabletop game, well, okay, this is going to be a tabletop game, but particularly in the model game, when you're playing the Astartes, your entire thing is you get to play these soldiers. Now, if you're playing Imperial Guardsmen, you get to put a lot of guardsmen on the field, and you get to throw a lot of dice. Because, like I explained before, if you like rolling dice, you either want to play Imperial Guard or you want to play Orcs, because they both get to throw lots of dice. With the Orcs, it's kind of like a hybrid between the Astartes and the Imperial Guard. The Orcs don't usually put quite as many models on the field, but they throw a lot of dice for the few models they have. With the Imperial Guard, though, when it says a 10 or 20 man squad, it is a 10 or 20 man squad. And everyone gets like 1 dice, so you get to throw 20 dice that way. So that's the Imperial Guard, that's the Orcs. If you just want to have some like super soldiers, and you want to have a few really powerful tokens, you play Astartes. Or, I suppose you would also maybe play Eldar. Although Eldar is more if you want to play wizards, just because they're all psychers. For Tau, though, if you're playing Tau, you generally want to play with vehicles, because they have lots of them. They have tanks, they have planes, they have walkers, they have fortifications with drones. They have lots of stuff like that, and that's kind of the whole thing about playing Tau. So, while I was kind of trying to save vehicles for last, we might make an exception with the Tau Empire, and we might do a lot of their big vehicles with this group. So why don't we just go ahead and we say races, and we're going to need their weapons and armor, and then maybe vehicles. Let's see, Malachi also says 1,000 Suns are Psychers, and also they throw a decent amount of dice. Okay, that's fair. 1,000 Suns, though, that's Space Marines. Particularly, if I remember right, because I just think I learned about this, those would be the Chaos Space Marines for Zeech. If I'm remembering right. However, you could also say the same thing about the Grey Knights, because I believe they are literally just the counterpart to the 1,000 Suns. All of the Grey Knights are Psychers, all of them have psychic abilities, they basically do the same thing. It's just, it would be kind of weird if both people wanted to play Grey Knights and you had them fighting each other. So, somebody plays 1,000 Suns. Yeah, because the other day I was looking it up and it's like, wait a minute, my favorite Chaos God is Zeech. Does Zeech even have Space Marines? And then I learned that there were the Thousand Suns. Because I knew that Khorne had Space Marines. Of course Khorne has Space Marines. Khorne is the god of violence and blood and death. I knew that Nurgle had Marines. I knew that Slaanesh had Marines. And it's like, wait, but Zeech doesn't really do things. But then I found the Thousand Suns, and so that was cool. So, like, if I ever had to play, Chaos Space Marines, which, honestly, I really would not want to play Chaos in general, but if I ever did, Thousand Suns, that'd be my army. Although, well, let's see, hold on. Is there a difference between Chaos Legions and Heresy Legions? I'm not sure if there is. Because otherwise, if I wasn't playing Thousand Suns, I would definitely want to play... What are they called? Iron Fists? Iron Hands? Something like that. Basically, like they're like the Chaos version of Mechanicus, because almost all of their Marines are Tech Marines. And they get to have all kinds of robots on the field with them. It's like Iron Hands, I think. Either way, they look like fun. Wouldn't be my first army to play, but I would definitely play them if given the chance. And Malachi says, then you want to play Alpha Legion. I don't know anything about the Alpha Legion. I think a lot of people play Alpha Legion, though. Not sure how far up in the rankings they are, because like I think the #1 army played by most players is the Ultramarines, which is why they are basically the meme. I mean, you're going to see Space Marines somewhere, it's always Ultramarines. Which I find really disappointing because I think they look really boring. After that, I think the next most common is Space Wolves. Just because people dig the Space Wolves. And I get it. Space Wolves are okay. They're not my favorite army. But they're pretty cool. I mean, they live on kind of a brutal planet where everything is still feral. They literally run with these giant dire wolves. Their armor is adorned with furs and pelts. They kind of they kind of disregard a lot of ranged weapon in exchange for things like power knives and power claws, which are actual claws. So, I mean, I get why people like the Space Wolves. They kind of deserve their popularity. As far as the Ultramarines, I don't know why everyone loves the Ultramarines. They just happen to be like the mascot. Malachi says, Alpha Legion is such a weird oddball, but hilarious because they always show up in these super insane situations doing crazy shit or if you never hear about them. But that's a sidetrack. That's fine. We're not in a huge hurry today. We're good. Today is mostly just planning what we need to do. So we can go on tangents today. Yes, Tux, you have permission. Alright, but while we are here, we do need to start looking into some of this stuff so we can start writing some stuff down. Alright, so, Tau Empire. It says right here, we are 5 castes, 1 people. We stand united, dedicated wholly to the greater good. As we progress, we will encounter further barriers. We will overcome them. Our future is now. Believe in our destiny. So I was right. There's 5 castes of them. Earth, wind, fire, air, Earth, air, fire, and water, and then the ethereals. There's a whole lot of history here, but there's a whole lot of history for everything. Oh, holy hell. That's a lot. So wait, hold on. There's a lot of minor species. I don't necessarily think we have to do all of the minor species, and in fact, we might not be able to do all the minor species because some of these do not even have pages on them, and I might not have any information on them. But it says up here in major species, the Tau, obviously, the Kroot, and the Vespid. Now, wait, I played another game. What was it? Oh, let me look at my Steam. What was it called? It was 40K... Where is it? Warhammer 40K... No, not that one, not that one. Gladius! That was it. Gladius. I played Gladius. Even did a little bit on the channel. Blizz and I did it together. I remember Vespids in there, but they were just like giant wasp things. Are the Vespid more than just like giant wasp things? I don't know, I'm kind of curious now. Let's see. Watch the flanks for the Xenos, my brothers, for death is heralded by the sound of their wings. The Vespid are a unique race of insectoid aliens who are members of the Tau Empire. In the Tau lexicon, they are called Malkor. This derives from the Tau words for insect mal and air, core. The soldiers of the Imperium often refer to them as sting wings. Vespid's homeworld is a gas giant named Vespid. Wow. No, that does not actually look like just a giant wasp. So, okay, physiology. They're a vaguely insectoid species, though this narrow term is an imperfect one that fails to account for the many aspects of their unusual physiology. Their bodies are encased in a chitinous exoskeleton and sport many lethally sharp barbs. They see by the way of 3 pairs of eyes, 1 pair perceiving ultraviolet, 1 normal visible, and 1 infrared. That is cool! That is so cool! How have I never learned about these guys before? It is assumed that the Vespids see in all 3 ranges of the electromagnetic spectrum simultaneously and therefore have a perception of their surroundings unique to their species. Could you imagine that? So, visible light is what we see now. Infrared is what we would generally call heat vision. So if you've ever seen a heat detecting camera before, or heat detecting goggles, like you might see used in military or police operations, that's kind of what it looks like. It's basically the Predator vision. Anyone who's seen the movie The Predator. So they can see that in addition, and then ultraviolet. I don't know if we have cameras that really show ultraviolet, do we? Because even most night vision cameras are not showing the ultraviolet spectrum. I don't know if there is a good analog for that, but that is beyond cool. They're basically wearing all the different, vision goggles at the same time. Oh, these guys just get better and better. Okay. The Vespid possess a pair of extremely sensitive antennae that constantly collect information from their surroundings. Vespid claws are described as being diamond hard and are used to tunnel into rock to create their hives. Vespids can fly by way of a pair of hard chitin wings which emit a continuous ultrasonic tone, which the species appears to be able to modulate and control the workings of their crystal-based technology. And Malachi says we do have ultraviolet cameras. It's mostly in labs. Oh, that is awesome. I have to look that up later. So it says crystal-based technology. They have technology. This picture up here shows them using a rifle. So they've got to be smart. I mean, they're probably not going to be the smartest race in the galaxy, but they're smart enough. So yeah, we gotta make a Vespid race. This is cool. I think I like the Tau a little bit more now. Okay, so we need to do this. So let's go ahead and pull this down here. Races, we're going to do Tau races. And that is going to be, let's move this down a little bit more because I think I'm going to need the space. So Tau races, we're going to need fire cast. We're going to need air cast, water cast, earth cast, and ethereal cast. We're also going to need Kroot and Vespid. Now, why would your team have an ethereal on it? I have no idea. I'm not asking questions. You just do. If you want to play an ethereal, I will let you play an ethereal. So that's awesome. Then, of course, there's the Kroot. I'll be honest with you, I'm not as big a fan of the Kroot. I mean, I get that they serve a purpose, but I was never really big into the whole Kroot thing. But they're okay. They kind of remind me of like a cross between a hyena and a lizard. And then Tau, of course, we're looking at the Tau right now, so we're fine. History. I don't care about the history. I just want to get into here. Tau anatomy and physiology. So their physiology is closely tied to their society, with Tau of each caste effectively being a subspecies of the larger Tau. And Tuck says, I would like to play a penguin. Just a penguin. I mean, we can do that, but I mean, this is 40k. How long do you expect a penguin to last? Maybe we slap your penguin inside of a dreadnought. I mean, if a corpse can work a dreadnought, surely a penguin can too, right? Alright, so, each caste is effectively a subspecies of the larger Tau race. This was initially a result of adaptation and evolution to suit different environments. Although interbreeding in caste was forbidden by the Ethereals, yeah, this is all done intentionally now. So we got Fire Warriors right here. Let's see. In general, though, the Tau are humanoid in shape. They all have hoofed feet and 4-digit hands, 3 fingers, 1 thumb. Let's see. Unicorn says only if the Dreadnought runs on Linux. You'll have to get with the Tech Marine in the chapter for that one. And Tuck says, I'll get an Ultramarine alt character like, oh no! Why does it always have to be Ultramarines? It's always Ultramarines. Okay, their skin is gray-blue, although it can vary a little bit between Tau, Seps, and Colony World. Rough in texture, leathery, and exudes almost no moisture. Tau don't sweat. Okay, there we go. Didn't know that. Does that actually change anything? It might. Their faces are flat, wide around the eyes, with an eye-shaped slit running through the center of their forehead where a human's nose would be. So, I mean, they still kind of have a nose. Let's see. Tau vision is considered to be slightly superior to that of humans. Their visual spectrum extends a little more into the ultraviolet and infrared wavelengths. However, their pupils do not dilate, giving them poor depth perception and providing slower vision focusing reflexes than humans, particularly in low light conditions. Their olfactory organs of the Tau are inside the mouth. Okay, so their nose is literally just for breathing then. Let's see. Malachi just says noise marines. I don't know what noise marines are, so I don't know. Tuck says, best way to ensure your character lives, get a character the GM hates but make but can't find an excuse to not allow and then have that ready as a backup. That is devious. I like it. However, I'm not protecting your penguin just because you have an ultramarine in the wings. It's still just a penguin. Okay, physical strength and size varies between Tau casts, the fire caste being the strongest of their kind, roughly the size and slightly weaker than the average baseline human because the Tau homeworld has gravity slightly weaker than that of Terra. Now see, that's actually interesting because not all humans come from Terra anymore. So, it's not really a great metric. Let's see. Only 2 female Tau have ever been illustrated. The first, Commander Shadowsun, appeared to have more human face than a male Tau, being smoother and sleeker with larger eyes, and a nose-like facial feature and a Y-shaped facial slit. It is not known, however, whether Shadowsun is representative of all female Tau. The second known Tau female, subject of an imperial dissection by the Magi of the Adeptus Mechanicus, has a facial characteristic of male Tau. Okay. Let's see. Tau do not possess psychers. That is wrong! Because as of 9th edition, 10th edition, one of them actually gave the Tau psychers. And just, you know, since I'm on the record here, I actually disagree with it. I kind of like the idea that the Tau did not have psychers. It made them different, and I am absolutely against homogenizing everyone. It's one of the big problems I have with Dungeons & Dragons right now, since they want to make it less offensive and more, air quotes, inclusive. When they went and said, yeah, nobody's allowed to have any penalties anymore to their stats because we don't want people to feel bad about the races they're playing. No! Some people should be better or worse than other things, okay? Even among humans, we have different cultures who are better at doing some things than others. This idea that everybody has to be the same sucks. So I hate it. I hate that the Tau were given psychers. I mean, the Tau did not have psychers. The Tau had absolutely atrocious melee skills. Okay? It was 2 enormous penalties for the Tau. And people like to blame that for why people didn't play the Tau. But the fact is that a lot more people probably would have played the Tau if the table was bigger. Because the fact is that the table is only so big, and the Tau excel at long range. It's kind of why I actually shared a picture in the Discord server, which, by the way, if you're not in the Discord server, go join my Discord server. But there's a picture in the Discord server that says, why is it that every picture of the Tau shows them losing? It's because if the Tau were winning, they'd be 15 miles away. Because it's true. The Tau don't want to fight you. The Tau just want to eradicate you. If they feel like there is conflict is inevitable, they would simply shell your location with an absolutely incomprehensible amount of artillery, and then probably glass it for good measure. That's their strength. The idea of playing Tau is you don't want anyone to get near you, and you have the tools to make sure they can't get near you. They have all the battle suits with rail guns and missile pods and everything else. They have marker light drones to make sure that they don't miss. Tau are unique, and as such, there are some things they're better at, there are some things they are worse at. Tau did not need to have psychers. So, this is actually wrong, and the Tau are worse for it. They have little knowledge of the Immaterium beyond its existence. This gives them some level of resistance to warp-based powers affecting the mind, but it offers little, if any, protection against physically manifested offensive psychic powers. If you can psychically manifest a fireball, it's still going to toast them. But if you're trying to, like, mind control them, yeah, there's a little bit of resistance there. This is because the Tau have virtually no psychic presence in the warp. To a daemon or any psychers possessed of the witch sight, they appear to be shifting will-o'-wisps rather than the burning fire that represents a human soul. As such, Tau can never possess or develop psychic powers. Again, they changed that. Let's see. The Tau are largely unaware of the perils of the Immaterium, don't really care about that. I want to get more into, like, the individual casts. Malachi says, I don't believe in your space magic, so it doesn't work on me. Haha! You know what? That's almost exactly the opposite of the way the orcs work. The orcs do believe that it works, and so it does. In that way, the orcs and the Tau are pretty much opposite sides of the same coin. Let's see. Ethereal cast members also have a diamond-shaped bony ridge on their head. It is believed by Imperial scholars that through this organ, the Ethereals exert some pheromone-based or latent psychic control over other Tau casts to keep them focused on the greater good. But this is mere speculation. No evidence of this has ever been found out. Yeah, I don't believe that. I believe that all the Tau just follow the greater good because that's their culture. Let's see. Due to their notable absence of psychic ability, they have no equivalent to navigators of the Imperium, forcing them to travel at sublight relativistic speeds. Their interstellar vessels therefore take much longer than Imperial vessels to traverse the vast distances between the stars, which is one reason their empire has expanded relatively slowly. Oh, see, I didn't actually know that. Let's see. Tau Wars receive only limited training on the arts of close combat, usually depending on recruit mercenaries to do it for them. Okay, that's fine. The Tau have proven themselves to be extremely efficient sharpshooters with ranged plasma weapons and railguns they primarily rely upon. But I want to talk casts. What if we go here? Nope, that's the planet. What if we come up here and click on... Stop jumping around. This. That just takes me right back to here. Okay, never mind. Founded by the Tau cast. Can I not find information on all of these? If I just go here to Ethereals, let's see. They are the 5th cast of the Tau. What if I go here? Ah, here we go. Okay, casts. Let's see. They employ a caste-based society. Yes, we know that. All right, Fire Caste, the Shas. This comprises the bulk of their ground military, and as such are the ones most encountered by the Imperium. They average as tall or slightly shorter than the average human. They are generally muscular. This comes from the origin on the plains of Tau, where they survived as hunters and warriors. Tau from the world of Viorla tend to have slightly greater muscle mass than is common among their species because of the increased gravity, which probably puts them then on par with humans in every single way. I mean, it was said that Tau were generally a little bit strong, or a little bit weaker. So, there we go. Earth Caste, or Theo. This is comprised not only of the Tau's laborers and technicians, but also their artisans, scientists, and engineers. Usually credited with the significant leaps in technology that the Empire has enjoyed, the members of the Earth Caste form the foundations upon which the Empire is built. They are generally short and stout of build. Okay, short and stout are not things that are going to be too terribly important when we're playing, but they're good to know for your character descriptions. However, the fact that they are usually laborers and technicians probably means that we're going to get some bonuses to skills. Like maybe your physical sciences, your engineering, things like that. So maybe we'll have an option, we'll give them like a +2 to strength and a +2 to whatever skill of your choice out of a certain list. Watercast. Primarily composed of Tau merchants and diplomats, they are tasked with seeking and maintaining diplomatic relations with the other member species of the Tau Empire, as well as maintaining the ease of communication and cooperation between the other castes. The water caste is generally taller and slimmer than the other Tau, favoring diplomatic training and social grace over confrontation and combat. They are more capable in communicating in the languages of other intelligent species, so they probably learn more languages. From the time when the Tau discovered the existence of the Imperium, there are several accounts where water caste ambassadors were dispatched to Imperial worlds, and those worlds accepted the greater good without a fight and became new Tau septs. Which is the interesting thing. When people talk about Warhammer 40k and they try to figure out who's the good guys and who's the bad guys, anybody who is familiar with Warhammer 40k will tell you there are no good guys. There's the bad guys, there's the worst guys, and then there's the monsters. And in some cases, the monsters are literal monsters, like the Tyranid, who don't think, they don't feel, they just do. And then there's monsters, like the Drukhari, who literally go from planet to planet, capture entire civilizations, so they literally have someone to torture on Sunday afternoon. However, that being said, if you had to pick a good guys in 40k, the Tau would unabashedly be them. Because the Tau, in general, are the least offensive faction out there. That is not to say they do not war. They do. They do go to war, they do fight, they do kill. But in general, it's their last resort. The Tau don't want to fight. The Tau want everyone to get along. They only fight if you refuse to get along. And that's why their status as being the quote-unquote good guys comes into, contention, because they're kind of the good guys in the same way the Soviet Union was the good guys. The Soviet Union just wanted to build a grand empire, okay? Because if the entire world was part of the Soviet Union, everything would have been better. Right? Oh, and by the way, if you didn't want to join the Soviet Union, then the tanks were rolling in. And Malachi says, beg your pardon, Tyranids do think. Okay, that is debatable and arguable. Yes, there are some Tyranid who do have higher cognitive function. There are some who are actually capable of conscious, rational thought and capable of directing the entire Tyranid fleet. But they're very specialized and they're very few. The vast majority of the Tyranid swarm is mindless. And I'm not even going to get into things like gene stealers. Because yes, I know those can think they're different. Gene stealers are different. I'm just talking about like the actual core of the Tyranid fleet. Which is like 90% of the models that you're going to put in the field, by the way. Because the really smart ones are still up in the fleet. They never touch the ground. Okay, so that's the water caste. And air caste. The air caste function not only as messengers, but also as the bulk of the Tau protection fleet and the Tau merchant fleet. They are even taller and more slender than the water caste, with long skinny appendages and hollow bones. These traits are attributed to their lives lived mostly in low to zero gravity void ships and void stations. This is exacerbated by the aircast's reluctance, if not outright refusal, to land on planets, as their skeletons have atrophied to the point where injury and broken bones are commonplace when they spend time in a gravity well. In the past, during the time of Montau, before the unification of the Tau tribes, the aircast had membranes stretching between their limbs, which allowed them to glide on air currents. Tau aircast pilots are recognized as generally superior to human pilots due to their better fighter craft, though they lack a normal Imperial pilot's level of combat experience. So, we are talking about a very tall, very slender race. That's going to be part of description. But we're going to talk about a pretty major penalty to Constitution if simply landing on a planet puts them at risk of breaking bones. So we're talking like maybe a -4 to their Constitution. Now, a -4 on Constitution means that we need to have like 3 bonuses. So, -4 to Constitution, then we're thinking like maybe a +2 to Dexterity, a +2 to Intelligence, and maybe a +2 to Charisma? I'm thinking Charisma might be pretty good. So, -4 to Dex, or -4 to Constitution, +2 Dex, Intelligence, and Charisma. In addition, though, since they are natural pilots, they will get like a straight-up bonus to piloting. Now, we can increase that bonus to piloting, making them really awesome at it if we give them another trade-off and, say, make them fragile. Now, how do we make them fragile? I would say potentially making them more vulnerable to critical hits. Like, we could say that, any attack against an aircast will have a double the crit range. Which, kind of sucks if you want to be them, but if you want a pilot, then it's going to be awesome. And keep in mind, this is set in the Starjammer universe. On your ship, you will need to have, at the very least, a pilot. You will need to have a gunner. You will need to have an engineer. Okay? You literally cannot get by with anything less than that. Now, there are science officers who can do things like move shields around. Magic officers are not going to be a thing because we're not using the actual magic in the game. I think. Magic officers in Starship Combat don't actually cast spells. And so, if we roll magic over into the Psyker territory, we could attribute a lot of the stuff done in Starship Combat to just, being psychic powers. And then if you have enough people, you need a captain. Captain is really awesome because it can kind of help everybody out, but it's also like the one thing that doesn't do a whole lot specifically, and so you can do without a captain if you don't have one. And Malachi says, that seems awful bad. Like, awful bad. Because some things crit on more than 20. And yeah, that would be awful. Because imagine if you're firing a weapon that has a crit on like a 19 or 20. Now, because it would essentially make the weapon keen, now it's critting on a 17 to 20. That would be really awful. So, maybe you want to learn how to use cover. Actually, I don't know if that's a thing. I don't know if that's a thing here. Okay, don't show that again. Wait, this is the D20. Oh, wait, I forgot to pull up the Starjammer one. I forgot to pull up Starjammer one. Let me pull this up. Alright, and let's go ahead and duplicate that one so we have 2 of them just in case. Weapons. Okay. This just says critical. But you know what I'm noticing? There is no critical range on these. There's no critical range. Which means that in Starjammer, you only crit on a 20. There might be feats to do that. Like, let's go ahead and check combat feats. Critical, improved critical. Prerequisite for improved critical: when you score a critical hit with a weapon, the DC to resist that weapon's critical effect increases by 2. Yeah, there's no expanded criticals because improved critical in Pathfinder actually doubles your critical range. If we go to feats here, and we go to combat critical feats, improved critical here. Oh wait, no, hold on. That's impaling critical. My bad. Nope, that's the wrong one. I want improved impaling. No, I just want improved critical. Where am I? Okay, here we go. Feats, heat. Combat feats. A, B, C, D, E, F. Come on. I, here we go. Is it not improved critical? Is it expanded critical? I forget. Critical, accursed critical, blighted, butterflies. I feel bad because I should know this. It's one of the... Sorry about that. It's one of the greatest feats that you can get, especially if you like critical builds. But it's so hard to get because you can't get it for a really long time. Impact critical, impaling critical, improved impaling, sin snaring, staggering, stunning. Yeah. Wait, here we go. Improved critical mythic? Requires improved critical. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, here we go. This is the one that I wanted. And I don't know why it took me this long to find it. But improved critical in Pathfinder. It's required for you to be proficient with a weapon and a base attack bonus of +8. See, this is the real kicker right here. If you're playing a fighter who gets the best advancement on base attack bonus, you cannot even get improved critical until you're level 8. Because there's no way for you to up your base attack bonus. You have to wait until you're level 8. That being said, however, if you are a fighter and you specialize in something like a rapier, taking improved critical is just ridiculous. You will do so much damage with it. But apparently that doesn't transfer over, because this one just makes the DCs harder to resist. So when we look at weapons and we look at the criticals, it means that, like during these injections, a DC of +2, that means on a critical, it means that it would be a DC of +4 instead. So, yeah, having them be slightly more vulnerable to crits would actually just be that. It would be slightly more. It means that they would take a critical hit on a 19. Now, that is literally double what they're doing, but we're still talking about a 1 in 10 chance instead of a 1 in 20. And a 10% chance, I mean, that's kind of one of those things where you look at that and it's like, is it worth the trade-off? Would you rather be really, really awesome in space combat as opposed to being really awful in ground combat? Because that's what we're looking at here. When we look at combat in space, the fact is that if we take the air cast, and we give them a great bonus to piloting, when we look at starship combat, which is... here it is. Captain, chief mate, gunner. Yeah, we know what these guys do. Magic officer, pilot, science officer. So here's the thing. There's rounds and phases, so every round, every phase, you've got engineering is up first. Oh, let's see. Oh, Malachi says, this is less life-altering. 10% versus 20%, though. I'll take the 10% to ensure we fly and land safe. And what's funny is you'd think I'd melee like every one of those. It's guns and ranged only, with melee by choice. Kinda. So, first phase is engineering. This lets you repair things if you need to, boost things if you want to, whatever. Then there's the helm phase where you actually get to move your ship, and then there's the gunnery phase. Now, the gunnery phase is what I want to look into, because attacking, here we go. Range and arc, gunnery check. The gunnery check is 1d20 plus the gunner's base attack bonus or the gunner's ranks in piloting. Then add their dexterity modifier plus any other bonuses from computer systems, captain, science officers, and then add in the range penalty. The fact is that if you were an aircast and you had a really, really awesome piloting skill, you would actually have two really good seats on the ship. Number one, you could be a pilot, obviously. So you should be able to make that ship dance. Or, because piloting is also rolled into the gunnery check, you could let somebody else fly the ship even if all they have to do is just fly it in a straight line, and your aircast Tau could sit down at the gun and just blow everything out of the water as you fly by. It might be really useful if, let's say that you were in a ship and you were fighting another ship that can outrun you. And so if you already know that you can't outrun it, put your aircast on the guns. That way you can make sure every shot counts. So yeah, we can make the aircast very specialized and at the same time very, very balanced. Alright, and then of course we get to the ethereal cast. The ethereals are the political and religious leaders of the Tau. They resemble the fire and water cast physically, but are marked by a diamond-shaped ridge and raised bone in the center of their foreheads. Their origins are unknown, and most Tau will never refuse a request made by an ethereal. They are sometimes also found on the battlefield, but whether as leaders or observers remains to be seen. The leader of the Tau is named Anva, the Ethereal Supreme and Master of the Undying Spirit, who chaired the Ethereal High Council, served as the head of state. So it doesn't really seem that they get a whole lot going for them, except for possibly the same bonus that the Watercast would get. Because the Watercast already does diplomacy. What the Ethereal, I believe, would just get would be power over other Tau. And when I say power over other Tau, since it says that most Tau will never refuse a request made by an Ethereal, we're talking about something that's borderline magic. So I wonder... Magic and spells. Not this, I don't think. Magic's or Mystic spell list. Let's try that. Because what I kind of want to look for, I'm going to start at the other end here. Vision, true seeing, telepathic jaunt, summon creature. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking. Suggestion. As in, like, the spell. Where might I find that? Let's go a couple levels down. Restoration, Song of the Cosmos. Okay, let's go further down. Here we go. Suggestion. So, this is a mystic spell. A saving throw to negate it 1 hour per level or until completed. So basically, Malachi says could give them a reliable talent effect when it comes to social skill checks like diplomacy or negotiation with other Tau. I kind of like this better. Since it says that most Tau will never refuse an order, why don't we make it so they can't refuse the order? You influence the actions of a target creature by suggesting a course of activity limited to a sentence or two. The suggestion must be worded in such a manner as to make the activity sound reasonable. We can ignore that. It's coming from an ethereal. It's automatically reasonable. Asking a creature to do something obviously harmful, to do some obviously harmful act automatically negates the effect of the spell. The suggested course of the activity can continue for the duration of the spell. If the suggested activity can be completed in a shorter time, the spell ends when they finish up the task. You can instead specify conditions that will trigger a special activity during the duration. If the condition is not met before the spell's duration expires, the activity is not performed. A very reasonable succession imparts a penalty such as a -1 or 2 on the target's saving throw. I like this, because this could be very simple. It's very simple in that if an ethereal comes across a Tau, anything that they tell them is basically going to be suggestion. So they get a will save to try and ignore it. However, if you fail, you have to do what the ethereal says. Whatever the ethereal says. If the ethereal says mop the floor, guess what? You're dropping what you're doing and mopping the floor. And as long as the ethereal is not telling you to jump to your doom, then you're probably fine. Because if the ethereal tells you to defend it, well, guess what? That's not unreasonable. So I'm thinking that ethereals will just get straight up suggestion. And they may have suggestion, they may also have mass suggestion, because we saw that down there too. It doesn't say that the ability for an ethereal to influence somebody is restricted to one at a time. It just says most Tau will never refuse a quest made by an ethereal, which means that I guess if an ethereal was addressing an entire group of Tau, if they tell them all to do something, they're going to do it. So I think that works. So why don't we go ahead and fill a little bit of this in. This is going to be warriors. The air cast are going to be pilots. The water cast are diplomats. Earth cast are laborers. And the ethereal cast are basically just mind controllers. Kinda. The Kroot. These are going to be shock troops. And the Vespids, I don't even know what you call these guys. Or what you sum them up as. Vespids are... They're just bug soldiers. They're just bug soldiers. I don't know what else to do. What else to say? They're bug soldiers. Alright. And Malachi says he's got an idea. I'll wait. I'll wait for the idea. Before that, though... Okay, here we go. Malachi says local businesses are having issues with thieves. Local Thieves Guild analog claims innocence is believed because they're sanctioned and licensed or whatever, and the bad guy is a mass suggestion. Asking the local vagrants to acquire things for them. Oh, and they're all Tau. And so, of course, the leader of the Thieves Guild is going to be an ethereal. And all the ethereal has to do is say, hey, go steal stuff. And so they all do. Because how do you refuse an order from an ethereal? I mean, that's basically what would happen. However, that would not be for the greater good. Which is why it could never happen. That would require an ethereal and everybody under it, because it says that you cannot ask people to do something unreasonable. The question then becomes, is acting against the greater good unreasonable? I mean, on the one hand, it's not like the Tau are necessarily bred for obedience. Okay? It's not like they are bred with this ability to never act on their own, to never act against the whole. They still have that capacity. They just don't want to. Because they don't need to be bred that way. It's their culture. And so it's kind of weird. Now, interestingly, what you could do is, how many people in the chat have seen the anime Code Geass? Okay, I'll give that a minute. How many people have seen the anime Code Geass? I know it was really popular, but even though it was really popular, it was still kind of niche. And so whether you saw it or not kind of depends on just how into anime you are. I remember seeing some of it. I never got to see the whole thing. But one of the things that stood out in that one is your two main characters, and don't ask me what their names are. No, wait, actually, I think I remember. I think that it was Lelouch, because his name was in the title. It was Lelouch of the Rebellion. And I think his friend was Suzaku, if I remember right. And what happened in the series is the main character has this eye, okay? And with this eye, he can command people to do things. The interesting thing is, if it is in any way possible for them to succeed and carry out the order given, they will do it. Come hell or high water, you give them an order. If it is not impossible, they will do it. If it takes them an entire lifetime to complete it. If you were to give somebody the command to build a pyramid, then they will dedicate their entire life to building a pyramid, and they might be 97 years old by the time it's done. But it would be done. And so in the show, going up against his best friend in a fight, he commanded his friend to live. And now, this guy who was already a really superior warrior to begin with this command to live, would be able to pull off these inhuman abilities. I mean, his dexterity went off the chart. His tactical abilities went off the chart. His strategic abilities went off the chart. Because he had to live. It was the only command he had. What if you had an ethereal who could do that to other Tau crew? Who would be able to simply say, you know what, I am telling you to fly through this and get us to the other side. And whether it's asteroids, whether it's fighter drones, whatever it happens to be, by giving them this order, you actually get to give them a bonus to whatever skill they're doing. If, it's a Tau who's on the guns, you say, you need to hit this thing. And by using this influence and forcing them to do nothing but focus on a target, bam, bonus. It would be incredibly subjective. And it would come down to the GM determining whether they get the bonus or not, but it could be done. And I think that would be a really, really clever use for it. Malachi says they can't be misguided by making themselves rich when they realize, or when what they realize is they can reassign wealth to the needy as needed instead of waiting on the bureaucracy. That's a very interesting way to look at it. It's like the Robin Hood way to look at it, but in the greater good, you shouldn't have needy to begin with. I mean, that's kind of the idea behind the greater good. There should be no needy anywhere. Everybody should be housed. Everybody should be fed. I mean, you gotta keep in mind, the Tau are basically space communists. Because the fact is that everybody will be fed. Everybody will have a job. Everybody will have a place to live. Okay? And if you don't, if you decide that you're not going to do these things, like if you don't want to do your job, you don't get a choice. If you refuse to do your job, you get turned over to the Ethereals. If you don't like the place you're living in and you complain about the place you have to live, you get turned over to the Ethereals. If you're homeless on the street for some reason, whatever that reason might be, you get turned over to the Ethereals. So, like, this idea of trying to redistribute things, trying to make things better for the lower class, or the lower castes, or just maybe the downtrodden. Yeah, that just wouldn't happen in Tau society because there wouldn't be anybody down there. Because anybody who was down there would just simply disappear. The Tau have essentially made things like poverty illegal. And when you make things like poverty illegal, that just fixes everything. Alright, so yeah, the Ethereals, I think they're really interesting. They could be really interesting on the team, but we'll have to actually figure out how we're going to build them and what we're going to do with them. And even then, I mean, while the suggestion aspect is really, really cool, we also got to keep in mind that it would only ever work on another Tau. It's not going to work on Kroot. It's not going to work on a Vespid. It's not going to work on a human. It's only other Tau. So, playing an Ethereal, if there's no other Tau on your team, then the only time you will ever actually get to use it is if you come across another Tau. Now, that being said, if we're playing in like a rogue trader scenario, okay, where you get to go where you want, do what you want, the Imperium gives you full latitude to do whatever you want, and you have to sneak into a Tau compound. If you were playing an ethereal character, you would literally be able to walk in and walk out. Because every single time you come across a Tau, there's a Tau guard in the front gates. You walk up to the Tau and say, "You will let us in. You'll let me in, and you will let my party in." And then they have to make a will save to resist it. And if they fail, they let you in. And you would have to be a little bit more specific. You'll have to say, "You will let us in, and you will tell nobody we're here." Alright, that's one sentence if you use a comma. And then you walk to like the front door, and you say, "You will let us in, and you will tell no one we are here." They get to make their will saves. If they fail, you walk in the front door. And you could walk through an entire Tau facility like that. Is it niche? Absolutely. Is it overpowered? Oh, hell yes. It's got potential. It's got a lot of potential. Now, okay, moving on. So that's all the Tau races as far as I can tell. Ethereal control, Tau cast ranks, so I mean, this is kind of interesting. Okay, so all their ranks are just tacked onto the end. Okay, that's good. Tau names, Tau warfare, unit organization. Okay. So we can go back to here. So that is going to be the Tau races that we have to do. Now, let's get into some of their technology then. So, Tau warfare, general principles, unit organization, member species, spirits of expansion. I want to see their tech. So, let's go down to just Tau warfare. Alright, general principles. Tau warfare is carried out almost exclusively by the fire caste, whilst the air caste is responsible for aerial and space combat, providing transport between star systems for the fire caste. Turns out fire and air work well together. Go figure. Let's see. Fire caste military forces known as cadres and are similar in size and battlefield role to the Astra Militarum Company. In space, Tau fleets are manned by the air caste, which maintains both the military starships of the Tau Protection Fleet, as well as the state-owned armed merchant vessels of the Tau Merchant Fleet. A Tau Protection Fleet can include both Tau starships as well as those of the Xenos auxiliaries, who are part of the Tau Empire and accept the greater good, such as Kroot War Spheres. That sounds cool. I didn't even know that was a thing. And the powerful vessels of the Leagues of the Voltan Prospect identify as the Demiurge. Don't actually know what that is. Hunter cadres are made up primarily of Tau of the same planetary sept. Auxiliary forces are drawn from alien member species within the Tau. They prefer long-range combat over melee. We did that. Disdaining the latter and viewing it as primitive and barbaric. A Tau Fire warrior's primary weapon is the pulse rifle, which can be switched for a pulse carbine. Alright, now we're getting somewhere. Pulse rifle and pulse carbine. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make these bold, just to kind of break things up a little bit. So, pulse rifle, pulse carbine. It was a rifle, right? Yeah, pulse rifle, pulse carbine. Pulse rifles fire energetic particles which quickly break down and are projected as a pulse of superheated plasma. Pulse carbines, also carried by fire warrior teams, sacrifice range for portability, but incorporates an underslung photon grenade launcher. Okay, so these are basically just plasma guns. So, plasma long range, plasma mid range. We'll delete that for a minute. Then we've got photon grenades. Photon grenades. Powerful defensive weapons that not only release a powerful burst of light, but also a sonic shockwave that can temporarily stun the target. The Tau Empire integrates more and more alien races. They often use whatever unique abilities they possess in supplementing Tau tactics. Okay, so it's a burst of light, but a sonic shockwave that can temporarily stun the target. It's a flashbang. They have they have underslung flashbang launchers. I mean, don't we have that already? I know we have flashbangs you can throw. It doesn't seem like it'd be that much of a stretch to make a grenade launcher version of a flashbang. I would be supremely surprised if we didn't have that. Flashbangs. Okay, often small alien squads will be used as bait to draw in enemy fire, though it's important to note that bait squads are not considered expendable, but rather dependent on the effectiveness of their cover fire. If Tau forces ever do become engaged in close combat, they can call in on their cannibalistic allies, the Kroot. The Kroot are expert jungle fighters who appear deceptively slender. Okay, that's fine, that's great. Let's see. And right here, it just says a selection of Tau war gear recovered from the battlefield. Let's take a look at that. Tau war gear. Let's see, it says technology is more than merely the means by which weapons are forged, my student. It is proof that we shall prevail. There is no challenge we cannot overcome, no wisdom we cannot master, no opposition we cannot defeat. One by one, the secrets of the galaxy will become ours, and all the worlds touched by the light of our star will know the joy of the greater good. Progress shall be ours, so long as we have the will to seek it. I love these quotes sometimes. Oh yeah, look at this. This is everything I wanted. Yeah, okay. No, this is a whole bunch of stuff. There's Kroot weapons, fusion weapons, plasma stuff. Wow, they got a lot. Okay, we gotta go through this. This is gonna take a minute. Alright, we already got pulse rifles. I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna push this down a little bit, because I want to take a look at the personal protection first. Okay, personal protection. Fire Warrior Combat Armor. It is the standard issue infantry armor worn by Fire Warriors in battle, constructed in 2 layers. The outer face is a hard, ultra-dense nanocrystalline metal veneer bonded to an inner layer of high-performance thermoset molecular polythene. The outer layer material is known as Flowtac. I don't care what it's called. Let's see. These highly advanced materials in the construction are very resilient to penetration and lightweight compared to more conventional Imperial materials such as plasteel. The construction techniques are unknown to the Imperium, such as the Adeptus Mechanicus, and they are forbidden from investigating potentially dangerous alien technologies such as by the Ordo Xenos. Okay. So, this is light armor. It's like really good armor, but apparently it's really light armor. So, Fire Warrior armor. I'm going to say this is going to be light. Now, what about this recon armor? Recon armor is a form of Tau infantry armor that is a variant of the combat armor worn by all fire warriors. It lacks several of the reinforced layers in armor plates, trading a degree of protection for greater freedom of movement. Okay, I take it back. I take it back. We're going to do this the other way. This will be heavy armor, and then recon armor will be light armor. And so anybody who plays Tau will have options. Now, as for weapons, the Tau Empire uses a variety of advanced weaponry developed by the Earth caste that are often technologically superior to those of other races. Pulse and rail weapons are such examples and can be seen as trademark weapons of the Tau unarmed forces. However, they have also developed weapons for allied races such as the Kroot and Vespid. Another common feature of Tau technology is its constant adaptation to meet the ever-changing needs of the battlefield. As such, there are several pieces of Tau weaponry and war gear that have been designated as experimental for various reasons. These weapons and devices are special issue and only given to those experienced commanders who can field test the weaponry. Alright, so let's just go through all of these and see what we can do. So, air bursting fragmentation projector. That's a long name. Let's see. This weapon operates by firing a proximity-fused explosive projectile on a trajectory computed by a simple onboard drone intelligence within the warhead itself. This artificial intelligence, AI, calculates the precise height and distance of each submunition it fires so as to provide optimum explosive damage across a wide area. The air-bursting fragmentation projector is currently still undergoing field testing, considered special issue weapon for Tau forces. It's a grenade launcher. Okay? It's a fancy name for a grenade launcher. It's a smart grenade launcher, but it's still just a grenade launcher. And so I don't see a need that we should really do this, especially since it's not really the hallmark of them. It's an experimental weapon, and that's really all there is to it. I don't think it needs its own weapon. Dawnblade is a unique alien artifact sword wielded by the Tau leader known as Commander Farsight. And already it's out. Why? Because it's unique, it belongs to Commander Farsight, you're not getting your hands on it unless you murder Commander Farsight. If you actually manage to murder Commander Farsight, I will put it in the game, but until that happens, you're not getting it. Alright, EMP blasters. It's just that. It's an EMP blaster. We've already got them. I'm pretty sure. We do have them, right? Let's see. We're going to go to here. Weapons. EMP. Employ and Tempest, arc rifle, ammunition. Wait, do we not have EMP weapons? I guess we don't actually have EMP weapons. Alright, we'll have to make that. Alright, so EMP, blaster and EMP grenade. So obviously EMPs are going to be extra useful against anything mechanical, extra useless against anything biological. But hey, that should be fun. So the Equalizer is a Tau close combat weapon utilized exclusively by members of the Ethereal caste. Equalizers are carried in pairs, similar in appearance to batons. They serve as badges of an Ethereal's office. They also serve or double as a potent self-defense weapon. Each one contains a powerful disruption field that can shatter armor and bone on impact. If we're going to have ethereals, then we're going to need equalizers. Alright, flamers. It's just a flamer, okay? It's just a flamethrower. We already have them. Flamers are very similar to Tau flamers are very similar to the ones used by Space Marines and Imperial Guardsmen, but differ slightly in construction because of the use of more stable Tau technology. Flamers can be mounted on crisis battle suits, which we will get to later, commonly used to engage mass hordes of lightly armored enemies. It's just a flamethrower. Don't need to change anything. Let's see. Honor Blades. Two-handed Tau close combat weapon utilized exclusively by members of the Ethereal caste. They are custom-made to each individual, consist of a long, broad-bladed halberd mounted on a lightweight metallic shaft. They serve as symbols of office, ceremonial weapons, and an emergency weapon of self-defense. They are typically used to settle disputes between Ethereal caste members in highly stylized, bloodless duels that are more coordinated co-meditation than combat. However, it is just a halberd. There's nothing special about it. Don't need to remake it. Ion weapons. This technology was originally given to them by the Demiurge. Since then, it has been adapted for use in directed energy weapons. Ion weapons unleash high energy streams of ionized subatomic particles, vaporizing flesh and metal with equal ease. These high-energy weapons are accelerated by an electromagnetic field and react explosively with the target as a result of the direct transfer of energy at an atomic level. With the recent discovery of the Mortonium power source, it revolutionized the technological possibilities of ion weapons, allowing smaller weapons to be built. Ion weapons using this power source can be overcharged, which generates far more powerful blasts, however, doing so exposes the wielder or vehicle to the dangerous ionizing radiation emitted by the Mortonium and risks overloading the weapon's primary power cells. Okay, and Malachi says, it's a masterwork halberd, I guess? Pretty much. It is just a halberd. In fact, I'm not even sure if Starjammer or Starfinder really does masterwork stuff. It might. We already know they don't really do criticals. Alright, ion weapons, though. Yeah, we're going to need some of those, I think. In fact, I think we're going to need to have... how many do we need to have? We'll need... probably a starship weapon. We'll need a vehicle weapon. We'll probably need to have a heavy weapon that'll be unwieldy. We'll probably need... maybe a rifle? I'm not sure. So we'll need to have some. Cyclic ion blasters are an experimental Tau battlesuit weapon system. Okay, so that's a vehicle weapon right there. Ion rifles. Okay, so we need to have a rifle. That'll be a long arm. Ion cannons. These primarily go on hammerhead gunships. So, again, vehicle weapon. Ion accelerators used by the Riptide battlesuit. Vehicle weapon. Ion discharge cannon. Large ion weapons used for the Yavara battlesuit. So that's a vehicle weapon. I don't know if I need to actually make all of these. Let's see. So the cyclic blaster, early prototypes, yeah, I don't care about that. It's short range, used for lightly armored enemies, functional by generating a rapid stream of ionized radiation that is unleashed through the blaster's 4 barrels. Okay. Extremely high rate of fire was stable. The ionization effect on the armor was variable. Later developments almost completely changed the nature of the weapon. As a result, the Cyclic Ion Blaster's role changed from being one more similar to the more stable Ion Rifle design, now features a moderately high rate of fire. Alright, so the Cyclic Ion Blaster is going to be like a Gatling gun. The rifle is a rifle. The Ion Cannon, the most common adaptation of the technology, it's just a cannon. It's a very big cannon, though, but it is just a cannon. Ion accelerators used in riptides, relatively high rate of fire. Their high damage output allows them to engage both heavy infantry and vehicles effectively. I'm not sure what the difference is between the Ion Cannon and Ion Accelerator. Yeah, I'm not sure what the difference is. The Ion Discharge Cannon, unlike most weapons, it cannot overcharge. Instead, they do emit an EMP upon detonation, which can overload electronic circuitry, causing anything from minor malfunctions in electronics to fires. The effects of this can also blind enemy infantry and sensors that are hit. Okay, so it's basically just an ion and an EMP. Alright, the Phased Ion Gun. Prototype weapon system designed specifically for the hazard battle suits. It melds the rapid-fire technology of the Cyclic Ion Blaster with the power of the vehicle-mounted ion cannon into a stable battlesuit weapon system. The lengthy particle accelerators that comprise the Phased Ion Gun's mechanism allow the battlesuit pilot to engage the enemy at range with a storm of subatomic particles that react explosively. Yeah. Oh, and Malachi says, have you seen a Riptide? It's got a goddamn Gundam gun. Okay, here's the thing. Yes, I have seen a Riptide. But if you were to line up all of their battle suits in a row, I could not tell you which one the Riptide was. I have seen all of the Tau battlesuits. I have seen all of the Tau vehicles, but I could not name them. I just don't know. I mean, I suppose I could just click on it. So, Riptide. Here we go. There's a Riptide. It's not the best picture I've seen. Is there a better picture? I mean, it's a good picture, but I just don't recognize it from that picture. Notable formations. All the pictures on the bottom. Okay, yes, I remember this one now. I needed to actually see the model. I remember this one. Let's see, which one? Okay. This one says it has the ion accelerator and twin-linked fusion blasters. So, I can't move the image anymore. I'm going to assume that this is going to be the twin-linked fusion blasters, and this is the ion accelerator. I think. Oh, and JP's out of here. It's okay. You don't have to apologize. You got to go do what you got to go do. So, thank you for coming in, JP. We'll see you next time. Okay, so yeah, that's the Riptide. Since we're going through some of these so that everybody else will know what they're talking about, including me, the Yavara battlesuit is that one. It's that one. Actually, I don't recognize that one. Have I ever seen that one before? I don't think I've ever actually seen this one before. Huh. That's kind of cool. Okay. Hazard battle suits. them's is hazard battle suits. Actually, I don't remember seeing these either. Huh, maybe I'm not as familiar with these as I thought I was. I thought I'd seen all of them. But okay. And so this is a hazard battle suit. Here we go with the phased ion guns, which is going to be that big lance-looking thing. Which, you know, pretty cool. I like it. We're going to build these things. And by the way, up here with the ion blasters, this just says Tau battle suit, which I think just basically means all of them. Oh yeah, here we go. I can't show the whole thing just because I don't have enough screen to do so with. But there we go. Tau battle suits. There's the Tau. And there's the suits. Actually, you know what? They're not as big as I thought they'd be. I kind of thought they'd be bigger. I guess maybe the models that are on the table actually are to scale. I never actually thought I'd say that. Let's see, as a Fire Warrior in combat error, then there's the Stealth Suit, the Crisis Battle Suit, next is the Enforcer Crisis Battle Suit, next is a Broadside, and next is a Riptide. Interesting. Well, there you go. So I guess maybe they're a little bit more universal than I thought they would be. And then, yeah, there's a Hammerhead right there. That's not a battlesuit, though. That's a tank. Yeah, so there's the Hammerhead. It's just a tank. It does tank things. Like, shoot things and then get shot at. It's a good tank, though. I prefer that tank over pretty much any of the Imperium's tanks. And I know, that's probably sacrilege for a lot of people. I don't like them. I really don't like the Imperium's tanks no matter what you put on them. I think dozer blades look really dumb in general. I mean, obviously you gotta have dozer blades on them, just, you know, for mechanical purposes. Otherwise, you know, difficult terrain everywhere. And Malachi says, it's not a tank. What do you mean it's not a tank? It's a tank. Look at it. It's a tank. Okay? It's a vehicle with a great big turret and cannon on top of it. It's heavily armored. It's a combat vehicle. It's a tank. I was going to pull out some kind of, like, extremely specific definition for me. Oh, it's a hover tank. You get out. I don't need this from you. Okay, so ions. Quad ion turret. It's just 4 linked ion rifles. Primary weapon for Razor Shark strike fighters. Is that like an actual space fighter? It is like an actual space fighter. Okay. So we'll need to make one of those too. And then we get into the Arca cannon. Alright, so here's what we're going to do. All this stuff, I'm going to slide this down here. I am just going to put ion weapons. All of them. Because we're going to need a lot of ion weapons. We need the myriad of vehicle weapons. We need the myriad of infantry weapons. We'll probably want to also make ship weapons. And that's a whole different kind of can of worms there, but we'll probably need those as well. Alright. Arca Cannon. It is a unique weapon design constructed by Nan Yanoi. One of the two moons... Okay. The Arca Cannon fired a concentrated ion beam, which was tuned to a frequency and wavelength that only destroyed the central nervous system of advanced organic life forms, and ignored both plant life and inorganic structures. I am not making this thing. Okay? I am not making it. I know exactly what is going to happen as soon as I make this thing. I'm not doing it. It's just no. It's a big no. I'm sorry, but I know how players think. Players cannot be trusted with this thing. And it does say it's a unique weapon, so I don't feel bad about saying no. Okay. So that means we get to move on to something else. Kroot weapons. The Kroot rifle, Kroot gun, Kroot bolt launcher. I mean, sure, I guess. So, Kroot rifle, which serves as their standard weapon. They are commonly fitted with blades near the barrel and stock, which are a throwback to early traditional Kroot fighting staves. Combined with the incredible hand speed that Kroot possess, Kroot rifles are not only effective ranged weapons, but also effective assault weapons. Kroot guns are a larger caliber of the Kroot rifle. These heavy weapons have the equivalent range and firepower of autocannons used by the Imperial Guard, used to engage light vehicles. Okay, alright. So, Kroot rifle is going to be a long arm, and also range and melee. The Kroot gun will be a heavy weapon. This does say the Kroot guns are significantly heavier than the Kroot rifle and thus must be mounted on the back of a lumbering Krootox. What the hell's a Krootox? The result of a dead-end branch of Kroot evolution, but like the Kroot Hound, they are used by their more intelligent humanoid cousins. If not for the Kroot using them as beasts of war, the Krootox might have died out generations ago, but instead they are a common sight. Oh! That's a Krootox. Which means that must be a Kroot gun. Okay, never mind. It is not a heavy weapon. It is a vehicle weapon. Does that make a Krootox a vehicle? Kinda. Alright, Kroot bolt launcher. Primitive and effective weapons used by Kroot long before they met the Tau Empire, as with Kroot rifles and guns. The Tau have aided the Kroot by replacing their original basic sharpened bolts, which were originally used as the ammunition, with impact-infused explosive tips. See, this is why the Tau needs supervision, okay? This is why the Tau needs supervision. This is why they can't be trusted. Which are smaller versions of the warheads used in Tau missile pods. This made the weapon far more dangerous and is now has a significantly larger area of effect. Yeah, it has an area of effect. Originally, it was a stick. Its area of effect was stick. Now it's a bomb. Okay. The actual bolt thrower is operated by an ingenious hand crank system which drops the bolts from the magazine into position before quickly drawing the bowstring. The system allows the weapon to keep up the high rate of fire with little effort from the crew. It can only be mounted on the great Narlocks. What the hell is a Narlock? Oh, that's a Narlock. What the hell is a Narlock? Okay, a Kroot life form native to the jungles of the Kroot homeworld of Peck, often domesticated for use as a beast of burden, an assault weapon, or combat mount for Kroot warriors who serve the Tau Empire. It says up here, it's easy to dismiss such beasts as just that, little more than pests, when you're sitting in the turret of a battle tank. At least until you've seen one rip the turret off of a Leman Russ and eat its crew. Seriously, where is Peck and how did the Kroot survive this long? The Space Wolves are going to have a field day here if they survive. Okay then. Kroot Bolt Launcher. Obviously a vehicle weapon. Except you have to feed the vehicle, apparently. Okay. Moving on, because we're almost out of time for today. Fusion weapons. These are similar in effect to the technology employed in the Imperial Melta weapons, in that they use small fusion reactors to produce blasts of intense heat. They usually have short range, but are more dangerous the closer they are used to the target. Fusion blasters are the short Tau Melta weapon capable of reducing even the most heavily armored vehicles and fortifications to slag in the blink of an eye. We never actually did any Melta weapons. We did bolters. We didn't do Melta weapons. So I guess we're going to knock out two birds with one stone here. We'll get the fusion weapons and the Melta weapons done at more or less the same time. We should just be able to kind of copy and paste. Change the names around and we're good. The Fusion Blaster is similar both technologically and tactically to the Imperial Meltagun, albeit it possesses a longer range and is more commonly employed by more mobile units. Many battlesuit pilots have become adept at stalking and hunting down enemy armor, using the mobility granted from their jetpacks to outflank the enemy and attack the more vulnerable rear side of the armor of their targets. Okay. Alright, so the Fusion Blaster is short range. The Fusion Cannon is a larger version of the battlesuit mounted Fusion Blaster. Fires blasts of Melta energy that can penetrate vehicles. Yes, yes, yes. Currently, it can only be mounted as a variant turret for the Hammerhead gunship. And this weapon was first encountered in the Tauros campaign. Okay. So the Fusion Blaster is a Tau Melta weapon, which means that this can actually be carried. So, is it a long arm or is it a heavy weapon? I'm inclined to call it a heavy. Especially when I look at the picture here. Because I'm thinking that's a handle right there. So this thing will be fired underslung. I'm going to call it a heavy. So Fusion Blaster is going to be heavy. The Fusion Cannon is going to be vehicle, obviously. And yes, they have a lot of vehicle weapons, but then again, as we already established, the biggest thing about the Tau is all of their vehicles. Whether they be tanks or battlesuits. Fusion Cascade is an experimental cutting-edge fusion blaster variant designed to be integrated with the systems of a hazard battlesuit. It engulfs the target with powerful melta energy. Yes, we get that. So I guess that means that the fusion cascade would fit somewhere between the blaster and the fusion cannon. It's still going to be a vehicle weapon, but it's going to be on the lighter side. So then again, do I even want to add it? Let's take a look at something. We're going to go ahead and take a look at ultimate vehicles, and I want to look at the weapons. Do we have different tiers of weapons? Here we go. Weapons. Here we go. Weapons. We've got dumb bombs, guided bombs, cluster bombs. Those are not different tiers of the same thing. They do different things. A howitzer cannon, railgun, caltrips, oil spill, smokescreen, maxi armor piercing rockets. Yeah, there's not really tiers here. There's just different weapons. So I don't think I want to do the fusion cascade so much as I think we're just going to make a fusion cannon, and you can slap it on whatever you really want. Maybe it means that we dial up the fusion cascade and dial down the fusion cannon to make it a blend of both of them. I just don't see much of a reason to make two different vehicle weapons. The only other reason I can think of to do it, though, however, is do we have different sizes? Because I think we do have different sizes. Vehicle weapons. So, vehicle weapons versus starship weapons, ammunition costs. That's sample vehicles. That's vehicle feats. Okay, yeah, right here. Vehicle weapons. Vehicle weapon small, vehicle weapon medium, and additional weapon mounts. Why don't we take a look at that? Okay. Alright, so vehicle weapon small. This mounts a small weapon on the vehicle. It deals 1d4 per purchase of the vehicle weapon. Ah, okay. So here we go. This doesn't actually change anything. So what we'll do is the fusion cannon will be adjustable just depending on the size. Do you want to have a small one, a medium one, or a large one? It does 1d4 per purchase of the vehicle weapon. Medium does 1d6. Large does 1d8. And keep in mind that these are vehicle weapons. So when you're firing against a starship, it's basically divided by 10. If you're firing against infantry, it's multiplied by 10. Give or take. It also means that when you look down here at the actual weapons, it doesn't actually give you any damage. It just says how many dice. So, like, the dumb bombs are 2 dice. And if they're small dumb bombs, it's 2d4. If they're large dumb bombs, it's 2d8. And then size, we can put in restrictions on it if we wanted to. But that's how we'll work that. So, actually, since we can restrict the size, yeah, we can actually do both. We can do both. It's not really going to change a whole lot. But we can say that, like, the fusion cannon would be plus 3 dice, and maybe the fusion cascade would be only 2 dice. So that would make the fusion cascade medium for 2d6, and the fusion cannon large for 3d8. So that works. Fusion cascade. Oh, wait, hold on. Vehicle medium. And vehicle... Oh wait, already brought vehicle in there. Large. And that also means that over here, these will be small. There we go. So the Kroot guns will both be small because they have to be handled by these people. The rest of these will be mounted on things like turrets. Alright, what else do we have? Do we have anything else? Fusion blades. They're actually a pair of heavily modified Tau fusion blasters, but in truth they are miracles of science. When the firing impulse is sustained, each weapon can unleash a constant stream of nuclear fusion-based melta energy. These blazes from the muzzle of the weapons like a blade of pure light. Fusion blades are a rare Tau battlesuit weapon that was created at the request of the third bearer of the title of the Commander Brightsword. Fusion blades are a potent close combat weapon, easily able to vaporize infantry and carve through tanks. Okay. We can do that. We can absolutely do that. I'm going to go ahead and say fusion blades, vehicle, and what are we going to save this? These are heavily modified Tau fusion blasters, so I'm going to go ahead and say small. Tau fusion torch. It is a utility tool issued to the Vanguard Void battlesuits to aid them in exploring hazardous interior environments of space hulks. Short-ranged and very high-powered melta cutting tool, utilizing an atomic fusion reaction to generate the immensely hot beam. Yes. It's not really meant to be a weapon. It just can kind of be a weapon. We can maybe add it. If we have time. Maybe. We'll see. Marker lights. Marker light is essentially an advanced Tau handheld laser rangefinder used to paint targets for other Tau units to fire upon. When activated, the marker light projects a simple beam at the target which measures the exact distance between the marker light and the user. This and a torrent of other targeting information is then fed into the Firecast cadre's tactical network and becomes available on the wider Tau electronic battle network, relaying ranges to the marked target, triangulating optimum firing trajectories, and superimposing aiming vectors. All this information is transmitted to Tau units to guide their fire and engage the enemy in unerring accuracy. So, we're going to say marker lights. And these are going to be a bonus to hit. That's simple. Have to move these down a bit because we got a lot of gear. Missile weapons. Okay, well, missiles are great. We all love missiles, right? So, missile pods. It is a small silo of missiles which are primarily mounted on battle suits to act as long-range mobile fire support. Thing is, we've kind of already got that. We've got guided bombs. Now, this says only on flying units, so maybe we do need to add something else. There are mini anti-personnel rockets. Maxi armor-piercing rockets. Yeah, we've already got rockets over here. I don't know that we need to do the missile pod. So we've got missile pod and then high-yield missile pod. And then smart missile system. This fires clusters of small missiles, each guided by a drone processor unit. We've got seeker missiles. I don't really think we need to add all of these in when we already have the rockets built in. So for now, I think I'm going to skip these. If we have time, maybe we'll come back and look at them again, but I don't think that we need these. So that takes us to the Phased Plasma Flamer. It is a large, triple-barreled rotary flamer weapon capable of generating temperatures so hot the emitted flames are in a plasma. Phased Plasma Flamer. This is going to be a vehicle weapon and probably a medium one. Next up, we have just plasma weapons. And this includes the plasma rifle, plasma cannon, photon grenade, which we've already looked at. Oh no, wait, we did pulse weapons. No, yeah, those are literally just plasma weapons. Oh, and Tux says the stream hiccuped? Okay, I'm sorry about that. Gotta remember, my internet is not good. I live out in the middle of nowhere. Okay, well, it's not the middle of nowhere. I can still get, like Amazon packages and stuff, but point is, internet signal, not great. However, I haven't gotten a notification that it has dropped yet. So that's good. But okay, plasma weapons. We already have plasma weapons, so we don't really need to make more of these. And photon grenades, we already established these are just they're just flashbangs. And then we have pulse weapons. So pulse weapons are advanced plasma weapons developed by the Earthcast. These weapons operate by utilizing pulsed induction fields to propel lethal microbursts of plasma over long ranges. We already have plasma weapons, though. And so even though we have the pulse blaster, the pulse pistol, pulse rifle, pulse carbine, we have all of these things. We have plasma here in two-handed melee weapons. So we have plasma swords, plasma doshkos. Okay, we have plasma pistols, plasma rifles. We have plasma cannons. The only thing that I do not see here is we've got plasma rifles here, but this is long arms? What about sniper? Sniper weapons. These are all analog. Okay, so we'll need to have a sniper or a plasma sniper. Okay? So we'll need to have a pulse. What did they call it? Nope, not this one. This one. A long shot pulse rifle. Okay, and the rest of these we don't actually need. The photon grenade, we can move up there. But the rest of them, they're just fine. Actually one more, because I did see a shotgun. And so the shotgun was the pulse blaster. Yeah, it's also known as the pulse shotgun, commonly used by fire warrior breach teams. So pulse blaster will be a scatter gun. Then there's the burst cannons, multi-barreled weapons capable of sustaining very high rates of fire. They are an offshoot of pulse weapon technologies, often mounted on Tau battle suits and vehicles, providing heavy anti-infantry support. So, burst cannon is going to be a plasma minigun. The heavy burst cannon would be a vehicle medium plasma minigun. The pulse submunitions rifle, it's just a submachine gun. Pulse submunitions cannon, I don't think we need. The pulse bomb generator. The primary weapon system for the Sunshark bomber mounted underneath the aircraft's rear hull. When activated, a pulse bomb generator produces a ball of deadly plasma beneath the aircraft. In the course of spinning its generating mechanisms, at the pilot's command, the pulsed electromagnetic induction field propels the glaring energy ball down towards the targets in the battlefield below. Sizzling the air around it, the pulse bomb explodes on the ground with incandescent fury, spreading destruction over a wide radius. This is one that we can actually do. Pulse bomb generator. Right. That is going to be vehicle large flying plasma. All right, neutron blaster. This weapon is unique to the Vespid race, ergo we have to make it because it is the only weapon that the Vespid are really getting. Uses a hybrid of Vespid and Tau technology, and mounted at the end of the barrel of each weapon is a highly energetic and unstable crystal that has been harvested from the deepest layers of the world of the Vespid's cloud seas. This, combined with an efficient neutron projector system created by the Tau Earthcast, produce a weapon capable of bypassing all but the most effective armor. The weapon emits a short-range stream of neutron radiation when firing, and can reduce biological matter and machine components to cinders. Neutron blasters can only be used by members of the Vespid race. This is mainly because neutron blasters constantly emit radiation that only the Vespid can handle, whereas the radiation will prove ultimately lethal to other intelligent races. It has also been theorized by Imperial scholars that the Vespid wing membranes emit a constant harmonic ultrasonic tone that is required to modulate or aid the containment of the crystals used in the weapons. So, neutron blaster. Vespid only. It'll be a long arm. And essentially, ignore armor. That sounds bad. That sounds really bad. Okay. Rail weapons. They have rail rifles. They have heavy rail rifles. These are really just going to be like analog weapons, but probably just unwieldy. We may have to do a little bit more work with them, but we're just going to have to say rail rifle, heavy railgun, heavy railgun. And then starship railguns. But we actually already have starship railguns. Because if we skip back here and we go to starships, if we go all the way down to the bottom where all the weapons are, railguns, we have coil guns on the light side. If we go to heavy weapons though, railgun. So that part's done already. So we just need to have rail rifles and rail guns. So rail rifle, heavy rail rifle, and then rail gun, heavy rail gun. And they should be pretty easy. Okay, then Tau technologies and support systems. Advanced stabilization systems, advanced targeting systems, advanced repair systems, black sun filters. There's a lot here. Yeah, there's a lot here. This may take us more time to go through. So I'm just going to put on here Tau technologies and support systems. Maybe I'll go through that on my own and see what's usable and what's not, because that was a really, really big list. But there we go. Then there's vehicles. And so for this, we will need to have all of our battle suits. We'll need to have tanks and planes. And we will get into those more at a later time, maybe. We'll have to wait and see. There's a lot of work for us to do now. And we've already been at this for more than 2 hours, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up here. But that means that we have a lot to do. That means that the next stream, next week, we will start off by doing the races. There's a lot to consider there because every single cast does something different. Afterwards, this is a lot to go through. Their tech is expansive, to say the least. I didn't actually expect them to be more expansive than what the Mechanicus were doing, but I mean, here we go. They've got a lot of toys to play with. And if we get through all of that, this will probably take us 2 weeks to go through if we work really hard on it. 3 weeks if I really screw off. So I'll try to stay on task on that one and make sure that we get that done fast. If we do, we can work on the Tau technology and support systems, and if we're not at this for like 2 months, maybe we take a look at vehicles then. Still though, Tau. There's a lot to the Tau. There's more than I ever thought there would be. Okay though, still, it looks promising, and I'm excited for it. So, with that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to wrap things up. I'm looking forward to next week just because I kind of want to see how they really turn out. I'm really excited to do the Aircast because I like really specialized races because it really forces them into really interesting niches. Not just because, you know, they're already interesting on their own, but because sometimes you can work them into positions where you wouldn't otherwise see them. It's one of the reasons why I've told, you know, other players when they're playing fantasy, they say, I wanted to make a half-orc barbarian. And I'm like, oh, a half-orc barbarian. Great pick. And inside I'm just like, oh yay, another half-orc barbarian. Why? Oh, because you got, like, you know, a bonus 2 in strength and a bonus 2 to your constitution. How original. Yes, it is true that you can have a half-orc and they can be a barbarian. But did you ever consider that maybe you could have a half-orc sorcerer? It's true they take a penalty to their charisma, but you can still make that work. They take a penalty to their charisma, but if you rolled like an you rolled like an 18 and you put your 18 into your charisma, that means that you're an orc with a 16 charisma. That's great for a sorcerer, since you want to make sure that you have an 18 in your primary casting skill. Well, technically you want to have a 19, but still. There's plenty of time for you to get your charisma up there. You also get a +2 to your strength, so you're stronger than all the other sorcerers. A +2 to your constitution, so you're tougher than all the other sorcerers. And you can sling spells with the best of them. You don't have to be pigeonholed by your race. And so I always try to encourage people to do other things. So it'll be very interesting to see how each one of these races comes out and what we can do with them then. But, like I said, that'll have to wait till next time. I don't have time today for this. So, I'm going to wrap it up here. I know I already said that once before, but I'm actually going to do it now. If you want to be here to see how each one of the casts from the Tau race, as well as the Kroot and the Vespid, who I just learned about today, how they turn out, then make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit the bell icon. That way you're here for every video, or at least you get notified for every video. I can't guarantee you'll be here, but I can guarantee you'll at least get notified of it. If you know somebody else who's also into Warhammer 40k or tabletop games like this and you think they might be interested in it, then go ahead and share this video with them, especially if they're into the Tau. If you know a Tau player, share this video with them now. They'll want to be here for this one. Plus, they can correct me on all the things that I get wrong. You know, I can use that. I can use that. I'm not that proud. Anyway, though, if you just like me and you're having fun being here, leave a like on the video, leave a comment either in the chat, in the comments down below, or join the Discord server. I forgot to say this at the beginning, but we are working on getting the first tabletop game up. Before I can do that, though, I need people. And so, if you want to join, you have to join the Discord, because that's where the talky part's going to be. You gotta join the Discord. Next, you gotta tell me in the behind the screen chat what your availability is. I need to know your time zone, and I need to know the days that you're going to be available. Now, time zone just because I need to be able to coordinate everybody, because I have people from all around the world trying to do this. And then days off because, well, we all need to have the same day off, right? So, if you want to join, get on the Discord, get in the channel, leave the information, I will add you to the list, and as soon as I have enough players who line up, I will start coordinating. So help me get more players. Otherwise, though, I hope I just see you there. Even if I don't see you there, I hope I see you next week. And until next week comes, take care.